Hi, my name is Vivek Modi, and from today we are going to start a playlist on system design. We will see how we can build a system for a single user to millions of users. So, let me introduce myself. I do have around 9 years of experience into the IT sector. Currently learning the system design, and I thought why not share this learning with all of you. So, let's start with the system design. So, our playlist topic is system design. In this topic, we will start with making a to-do list app. So suppose we have built a to-do app in which we have features of adding to-do, listing to-do, mark as complete task, and restrict. Suppose we have a single user currently which is using this to-do app. Because I have built myself, I have this into my local host, right? Because I have built this, I have deployed this into my local host, not anywhere else. But another my friend came, my friend came and asked me to get the to-do app for himself, for him as well. What should I do? Should I give him localhost? But the problem is if he is not the background from the IT or he don't know how to install that, that will be a problem. So I need a domain or something, or address which from which my friend can also access this. Generally, we use domain name. For example, I used vivekmodi.com. This is a domain name. So I gave this domain name to my friend that use this domain name and you will have the to-do list app. But do you know how this domain name actually works behind the scene? Let me tell you for that. So every domain name is having a IP address. For example, 10.2.4.1. This is the IP address. Suppose we have the this IP address for our domain name. But how do I know that this is my IP address for this particular domain? How other user do know that this is the IP address? So basically we have a directory as we used to have the home directory in previous time. Like over there we have two columns. First we can have the address, and in our case it's IP address, and the second one we have is person name, right? So in this case, we have the IP address over here. For example, firstly we have the IP address 10.2.4.1, and the person name or the website domain name is vivekmodi.com. So whenever a user, suppose a user goes to a browser, this is the browser, request something, a website to the browser goes to the directory to check the IP address, and then this returns the IP address back to the browser, and browser gives you response to the user and shows the website, right? So all this is called, what we call this is DNS lookup, right? So that's how we got our the website. But the problem is, suppose currently if we go back to this website, so vivekmodi.com is having the IP address 10.2.4.1. It is working fine. Why? Because we have other two users, that is fine. But suppose my friend shares this with other WhatsApp and the other friends, then what will happen? Plenty of users came, right? Suppose we have 10 users. Do we have a problem till now? No, because our server is fully capable to handle the 10 users. But now my to-do app is so good that 10,000 users came, right? But still, my server is good and capable. Then we came with 100K, that means 1 lakh. Now my server is getting a little bit lagging. Why? Because suppose this is a server CPU which is going now. So now what happens is your user usage is going like this. Suddenly your user goes like this, or CPU utilization goes like this. Why? Because the number of users are increasing and our CPU is not much capable to help this out. So what we do? We can do two things. Suppose our CPU or the server has following configurations. It has one CPU, 4 GB RAM. So in this case, what we want is our website is working slow. So what we can do is we can either increase the CPU, we put 3 CPU, and or we can take 4 CPU and 16 GB RAM, right? Will this work and make our website more faster? Yes. So what we call this whole scenario, what we call this Vertical scaling. What does that mean? When we are increasing the softwares of our server, we call the vertical scaling, sorry, the hardwares. Then it is a vertical scaling. So what's the problem with that? If we are again having the same issue, what we do is we can again change the, we can increase the CPU, each CPU, and maybe 256 GB RAM, right? Will that make our website fast? Yes. But the biggest problem with this is we are having a lots of cost. First problem is we are having cost. Secondly, what we are having is there is another problem we are having. Whenever we are increasing the CPU or RAM, server didn't make it on the spot. It takes time. We have to restart the server. Till the time we are restarting the server, our website goes down, and the users which were going like this, suppose we add the RAM or CPU over here, then suddenly we will see a dip. This is called dip. Whenever we are our users goes down, this is called dip. Why? Because our server is down. So we find the issues into the vertical scaling. So what is the solution for this? What our problem is, a user can right. For the all users, we have a single server, right? This is the problem. But what if we increase the server? Now we have multiple servers, right? Suppose we have 4 servers. So, so every server is again having a IP address, right? So suppose this is having 10.2.1.3 or 1, you can say. This is having the IP address 1.2. This is having IP address of 3, and this is having 4, right? So what we need is we want to send a user, first user over here. If we have the second user, we want to send this here. If we have the third user, we want to send it over here and go on. But what's the problem? How a user knows that on which server he needs to push, and how we are increasing the number of servers. So in this case, we are using two things: auto scaling. Auto scaling means whenever our server Suppose our first server was 10.2.1.1. CPU utilization. CPU utilization is more than 80%. Bring a new server. You can do this through code, or we can use the AWS server. So whenever our server is CPU utilization is more than 80%, we can bring a new server and put the new users onto the new server, right? But what the problem over here? If you remember the DNS, right? We have a single IP address for the domain, but over here we have multiple servers. So for which server you are gonna give the IP address to the DNS? That's a problem. So for that, what we do is we use elastic load balancer. This, this is ELB. If you are using AWS, we use ELB. Otherwise, if you are using some other, we call load balancer, right? What it does is we put this ELB over here. So instead of calling directly to the servers, every users call this ELB, and then this ELB will give you the access to the server, right? Basically, this is also a machine, so this also will have a IP address. Suppose we have 2.2.1.11. This is the IP address of load balancer. So in this case, we will give this IP address to our TNS. So once we have the IP address of the load balancer itself check which server I need to pass, which server is up, and we need to pass that request to that particular server. What is other profit of this? If the servers, these servers are private, the users cannot directly access to these servers. They can only access to ELB. They can't access to the original servers. So these servers are private, and ELB will have the access to these servers to send the request and get the response. So what we call all this scenario is horizontal scaling. So I am hoping that you are liking this video. So if you like this video, please do like and share with your friends who want to learn the system design, and I will post more videos like this. Thank you.